Hi everyone, it's Jessica. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be doing something fun. I am going to change the quilts on this quilt ladder, and I'm going to show you the ones that are here and show you the ones that I'm hanging up. So let's get started. So my husband built this quilt ladder for me. It's huge. It's probably 8 feet tall, and it holds, you can see clearly 4 quilts, but it holds 6. There's 2 more down lower. And I've had these up here for a long time. Probably they're getting faded from the sunlight because I have a big window over here. So it's time to take them down and change them. I think this is probably the one I get asked about the most, so let me grab it. This is called Two-Step. This is from my book, Precut Parade. I'm gonna put a little corner up there to help me hold it for now. It uses a layer cake, which I love. It uses almost every bit of the layer cake, so it's super satisfying. It has stars in the middle, and then it has these plus blocks around the outside here. I love, love, love this quilt. I'm gonna lay it down and show it to you. So here's what it looks like. This is from my book, Precut Parade. I published 2 books with Martingale and 1 with Riley Blake. The 2 with Martingale you can no longer get because Martingale decided to close. So I'm in the process of updating all the patterns from the books and getting them into my shop individually so you can purchase a pattern if you want. Now this one is there, and I'm gonna link to all of these below if they're in the shop. Some of them are not. But like I said, I'm working on getting those moved over. So this one's called Two-Step. Really fun, really satisfying make. We've done a quilt along for this before, but I really love it. So perhaps we could do that again one time. Now the next quilt here at the top, this is also from Precut Parade. It's called Frolic. It uses a jelly roll, and that is also in my Etsy shop now. So this pattern is a really great beginner pattern. The blocks are nice and big, very simple. It's all rectangles and squares, really fun to make. Let me show you the whole thing. And here it is. I've made this one a few times actually. I did a fall version with a yellow background. I'm gonna have to find that one. I'm not sure exactly where it's at in the house. So really fun to make, really great, nice and beginner friendly. And again, it's called Frolic. This next one here is also from Precut Parade. The top 4 are all from the same book. This is called Happy Go Lucky, and it's a fat quarter quilt. This one's nice and big. Someone had recently asked if we could do a quilt along for this, and I think that would be really fun. These blocks are huge blocks, and it gives you a good sized quilt. And let me lay it out for you to see it. Now this one isn't in my shop yet, but I will work on getting this put over because I've had multiple requests for it. So this quilt has 4 of these blocks with a Dutchman puzzle in the center and 5 of these blocks with stars. And the center one I did different colors than the corner just to give it some interest. And again, this uses fat quarters. This last one down here is also from Precut Parade. This pattern's called Nelly. And it uses a layer cake. And this one's pretty big too. It turns out a great size. The parts that use the layer cake are these triangles here, these squares. And then this blue is an accent color that you add, as well as the cornerstones. Let me show you the full quilt. For the cornerstones, I use that as the same as the inner border, and then there's an outer border too. This one's really beautiful. This also is in my shop, and again, it's called Nelly. One of the ones that was down low is an oldie. This is called the On Point quilt, and a while ago I did this as a free tutorial on my blog for how to learn to make a quilt that is set on point. So I made a bunch of these. I made a solid one that's pink and white. I made a solid gray and white one, and this one was a print version one. And I had a look on my blog, and this free pattern is still on there. So if you're interested in it, you can check it out. You can just go to my blog, which is jessicadeon.blogspot.com, and then you can just search On Point Quilt Along and it will come up. And the final one at the bottom here is another oldie. This is one of the first couple patterns that I designed. It's called Chance, and it uses 1 charm pack and 1 jelly roll plus white and a background. So the charm pack makes these half square triangles here, and the jelly roll is used to piece all these pieces around it. Here's what this one looks like. And would you believe it? I never bound it. I had it hanging on here waiting to bind. I even have the binding. It's a navy stripe, but I just haven't gotten to it. So now that I've taken it off, maybe I will. And this is in my shop. I'll link to that below too. Now I'm going to start putting some quilts up. So the first one I have laid here on the ground, I'm going to show you in a minute. This was the first quilt I ever had in a magazine. It was in American Patchwork and Quilting quite a while ago, and it was called Swing into Spring. But I actually think, to me, it has more of a fall vibe. So let me show you. This is what it looks like. And I do have requests for this pattern, so I am going to work on getting this into my shop. I'm gonna fold this and put this on one of the lower ones, so I don't think you'll see it much. But now I get asked why I don't do patterns for magazines anymore, and you know, here's the gist of it. So when you write a pattern for a magazine, depending on your contract and depending on the magazine, it's a little different for different ones. But you're basically giving the magazine lifelong rights to your pattern. You get paid a flat fee for making the quilt. Very often, it barely covers the materials that you need to make it, the quilting that needs to be done. Now, if you're getting fabric for free from a company to make it, and you have a long arm or you're gonna quilt it yourself, then the cost, I guess, could be minimal to you except for your time that you're investing in it. So you get a flat rate for the quilt. And then usually there's a bit of the contract that says, you know, for the first period of time, you're not allowed to sell the pattern yourself. It's only allowed to be featured in the magazine. And then after a certain period of time, you retain joint rights. So you could sell the pattern, but also the magazine can sell the pattern. When the magazine is selling that pattern to you afterward, the designer and maker of the quilt gets none of that. So that is pure profit for the magazine, even though that is not their design and they didn't make it. So in the beginning of my quilting journey, I did a lot of magazine patterns. It was before I wrote my first book, and I really wanted to write a book. And I was told from the publishing company that I needed to be more familiar in the quilting world and have more exposure. And the way to do that was to be in magazines. So I did a lot. But now those magazines are still selling my patterns on their website, and they get 100% of that profit, which I don't think is right. So I don't do them anymore. So if you see this pattern on American Patchwork and Quilting on their website, you can certainly purchase your patterns from wherever you like. And I know that currently I don't have this in my shop, but I'm hoping to get it in there soon. But just know that any designer that it has their patterns on that site because they were in the magazine, they get none of that money. It goes directly to the magazine. So that's my little 2 cents on that. But I'm gonna hang this one up now and we'll move on to the next one. Isn't he the perfect model for this Halloween quilt? This one was so fun to make. Now this was a quilt along that was hosted by the Moda Bake Shop, and it had a bunch of its designers. I used to write patterns for the Moda Bake Shop website too. That's like a free pattern blog from Moda Fabrics. They kind of changed how they work that lately, but it still has a ton of free patterns from a while back. So we used to do these summer quilt-alongs, and we'd call them summer camp. This was a summer camp pattern, and I originally made it in bright, colorful fabric. And then I decided that this is beautiful, let's do it for Halloween. So I used a fig tree Halloween line, and I remade the whole quilt in these colors. And this pattern should still be free on their website. What was really, really fun about this one was it was a choose your own adventure type. So we had multiple options for each round, and you could pick the ones you like best and you wanted to use. So that was so, so, so fun. And it turned out fantastic. It's a stunner. So I put that one on here, and the next one I'm going to do is another pattern that I wrote. This one is so great for little scraps. It's called Smidgeon. Let me show you the whole thing. Every time I put a quilt down, he sits on it. So this one's really great for small scraps. You can make these 36 patch blocks from scraps, and then you just need your background fabric and an accent fabric here, and then an accent fabric for the on point setting. Now I didn't finish the binding, but I'm gonna finish it and then get this hung up. I'm gonna put it up now, and then I will take it down soon and finish that binding on it. And I wanted to show you the pretty label too. So I made a Dresden plate and I appliqued it to the back of the quilt, and then I put my name in the middle and the date I made it. I guess technically it wasn't finished then because the binding wasn't finished, but close enough. Okay, so there's that one, and we'll move on to the next. Now this is my Stargazer quilt pattern. This one is in my shop. I originally made this in red, white, and blue, and then later that year we had a quilt along for it. So I went ahead and did it in Halloween colors. Now I'm not even a big fan of Halloween, but this was so fun to make. It was fun to do something different than I usually do. I loved using the Halloween fabric, even though I really, like I said, Halloween isn't really my thing, but I loved using the Halloween fabric and making this. It was just so much fun. Okay, one more to go, and it's up higher, but you'll still be able to see it. So let me show you what that one is. This one uses a panel. All these applique blocks are from a panel, and then I designed these stars and this other block to fit with it nicely to make this quilt. So I have gotten so many requests for this pattern, but since it's a panel and the panel's not available, I haven't done it. But I do have an idea to substitute a piece block for these panel blocks, so I'm putting that on my to-do list for the future. And now we have the quilt ladder filled with fall and Halloween quilts to take us through until I put the Christmas ones up. If you have any questions on any of these patterns, just let me know. Any ones that you hope to do a quilt along in the future, let me know that too. And I'll see you back here soon. Thanks for following along.